Yeah, no one is very happy with it. We wanted a warm summer, but social media certainly is saying that enough is enough now.
It's not warm.
Yeah, this is beyond warm. It's gone far beyond it. But I think the discussion has moved on to the more serious topic of the drought and water shortages and the fact that it's become a reality with areas not having water. So people are tweeting a lot about that. They are providing resources for where you can find information on it. As the SABC, for example, we have stories coming in from across the country on the topic, which we feature on our YouTube playlist. So you can go to one place and get a picture of what is happening. And people are certainly worried about it.
Are you seeing an educational element on social media just in terms of people saying this is how we can save water, the drought issue is definitely serious? Are you seeing that element, or is it just basically saying we're just hot and bothered?
There is a lot of we're hot and bothered, and you see that time and time again, but we are seeing a much more sophisticated Twitter conversation happening in South Africa these days. If you look, for example, at some of the other things that have been in social media, if you look at the parliamentary protests.
And that's where I wanted to go to.
Yes, people were very quick to go from just beyond the violence, which I don't think anyone can condemn, to linking this to labour movement issues in the country, to linking this to the tripartite alliance, to linking it to bigger issues. So we're seeing in South Africa that, yes, you have the lighter side, and certainly social media is there for that. We can kind of play a little bit, but people are getting a lot more sophisticated.
Let's look at the student protest. I mean, we can't ignore that. For the past couple of weeks, it's been all over social media. We started with the hashtag Fees Must Fall, and it's just escalated. How has it transitioned from just the fees must fall to what it's been like this week? Do you see it shifting? So
what's interesting with Fees Must Fall is it's a very good example of what people start referring to as collectivism. It's all great having following on social media, but that needs to translate into action. So that's why that drive has been so successful. They use social media to create, to ignite the fires, to create passion, but then it rolled into action. I think people now are getting a bit less sympathetic. It's exam time. They're saying, we have fought in South Africa historically for the right to education. Now we need to study and write exams. So there's a little bit less sympathy, but there is still awareness of, especially the workers' plight on social media.
Now, Police Commissioner Ria Piega has had a tough week. What has social media said about her situation?
Yeah, she really has had a very tough week. But again, the conversation shifted very quickly to beyond just these charges and the fact that this is happening, to what are the underlying questions? What was the appointment process? What came before this? So really are seeing Twitter users engaging with what is happening around them.
Now, beyond engaging, would you say that Twitter, or social media rather, tends to then have the know-it-alls coming up with scenarios and conspiracy theories?
Absolutely, and I think it comes back to how you use any communication tool, what you gain from it. They speak of digital noise. There's a lot of digital noise. There's everyone who's an expert on everything, and the nature of our news consumption pattern has become that we know a whole lot about very little. We read headlines and we have a whole conversation as if we know exactly what the issue is. So you as a social media user need to look at who is it you're following. Do they actually know what they're saying? Follow respectable journalists. The role of journalism has shifted to just breaking the news, because it won't be us breaking it. In the student protest, the students were telling us what's happening where, but the journalist then needs to bring context and bring depth and say, for example, with the students, how does this compare internationally with fees? How does this compare with inflation? And bring actual value add. So in your usage of social media, it's up to you how superficial you're going to be. There's nothing wrong with having fun with it, and we've seen some fun on the social media platforms this week.
Now let's shift focus and look at a big sporting story. Tokyo Sexwale, vying for that top job at FIFA. How's that coming along with the Twitter response?
I think that's one of the, Twitter will always have diverse fields in terms of who supports what, but I think the overwhelming sentiment has been one of congratulating him, wishing him well, saying let's rally behind him, and that it would be wonderful to see an African leader of the world soccer body. So Twitter certainly has been very supportive. The SABC did an exclusive interview with Tokyo Sexwale on this issue, and that is also available on our YouTube channel, so people can access that very easily.
Let's look at some colourful tweets now. The Diwali festival this week?
Diwali has been wonderful. It lends itself to very beautiful fireworks. I think, again, though, people on Twitter said, yes, it's a wonderful festival of lights, it's a celebration, but animals are very traumatized by loud fireworks. Lights and loud fireworks are not necessarily linked. So they're saying celebrate it, but keep in mind that there are other considerations, and animals really get traumatized. We've seen people like the SPCA taking to social media saying, keep your dogs inside, keep them in a closed room, make sure they don't run into the streets.
Christelle, we're running out of time, but I can't let you go before we look at the Hello Challenge. That's massive. I've been having fun with it. I was going through it now with a friend of mine. Take us through the Hello Challenge and where it starts.
So the Hello Challenge can catch you completely by surprise. What it is, Adele has released a hit song called Hello, and it has to do with past relationships. So people tend to spoof, essentially, especially their exes, and they will text them randomly lines from an Adele song without any context. So you'll, for example, say, "Did you ever make it out of that town where nothing happened?" Which is a line from the song, and you receive it, and you're kind of like, I have no idea what this conversation is about.
Because you don't know what this, if you don't know the song.
Or they'll suddenly say, it's so typical for me to talk about myself, I'm sorry, but you haven't heard from your ex in 3 years. So it really has led to a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff on Instagram where you can see pictures about it. So maybe a word of caution, if you receive a really random SMS that makes no sense, just go Google Adele lyrics and make sure that you're not being brought into the Adele meme hashtag.
It's so much fun, and I think it's just a play on how popular Adele is. I mean, she's massive globally.
She's massive, and we kind of get to get back at our exes, which is always therapeutic.
That's always a lot of fun. Christelle, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a wrap-up of social media this week. Sure. That was Christelle du Toit joining us from Digital News. We'll have more news for you after the